Another week, another Disney movie comes out. It really is starting to feel like it's getting back to normal, isn't it? This time, it's Pixar bringing the goods with Luca, the story of a sea creature that's curious about the world of the surface, who's entranced by objects used by humans, and who eventually joins the land dwellers against the wishes of their parents. Well, wait, what? Yeah, so Luca was a disappointment for me. As I watched this thing, I kept wondering what was going on. Was Pixar making this film in an alternate universe where the Little Mermaid didn't exist? I mean, if you watch the movie, you see the same story beats. It felt like I was watching The Little Mermaid, but just with a boy this time. I was just waiting for Ursula to show up, man. But as I say this movie does throw in a wrench into the story about 75% of the way in, and if you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. It was at that point that Luca started to come into his own, and trust, we're gonna get to that. I wish I'd taken that direction much sooner, but whatever. And we're actually gonna discuss not the main character Luca, but his friend Alberto. What is it about Luca's BFF that we need to pay attention to? I'm the guidance guy, and your internet school counselor is gonna take the dive into this young man's psyche. And naturally, watch out for them spoilers for Luca. We're going all in, so if you haven't seen it, this is your last chance. Now, our boy Alberto comes onto the scene as Luca feeds his curiosity for the human world. He teaches Luca how to walk, how to move around on the surface, about gravity. He literally teaches him how the world works. And the main quest of these two is to get themselves a Vespa. To anyone else, it's just a basic scooter, but to them, it's the symbol of being on the surface. It's the feeling of being unhinged, unattached, and as the poster says, it's freedom. And as these two go about their days on the surface, Alberto imparts a very important concept to our young sea monster, the idea of silencing your Bruno. For Luca, having grown up with all the horrors of the surface dwellers and what they do to fish and other sea creatures, he's a pretty nervous guy. He plays it safe and he's not the type to be taking big risks. As a result of his upbringing, he constantly second-guesses himself, which makes his overall confidence not at optimal levels. But then Alberto, the quick-thinking, smooth-talking young man of swag, tells Luca the secret of his confidence by shutting up the voice in his head telling him to doubt himself and to bravely jump into whatever challenge is in front of him. And the thing is that Alberto is 100% on point with this. The idea of shutting down your Bruno is right in line with a concept called self-talk. Look, we all talk to ourselves. We all have an internal monologue that goes on in our minds as we go about our day. We hear it when we reach our goals, or trip and fall on our faces in public, when we go on a date, or when we get friend-zoned. There's an ongoing conversation that we have of ourselves as we go through life, and we do need to be careful about what we say to ourselves, because it does reflect in how we act. Because Luca's self-talk has been dominated by fear and anxiety of being captured / killed / eaten, that anxiety dominates how he acts. He wants to branch out and live a life of adventure, but has trouble making that jump for himself. But bring in an Alberto or a Julia, whose self-talk is driven by a can-do, will-do mentality, as we see in the movie, they drive him to bravery and inspire him to become more. And that can work for us as well. What we believe about ourselves impacts what we do, how we carry ourselves, and how we talk about ourselves. And if your self-talk is controlled by negative thoughts, it's only going to bring forth anxiety, doubt, uncertainty, and ultimately it will have you living beneath your ability. But on the other hand, with a self-taught script that's ingrained with the good that you can do, what you can bring to the table, and the belief that you will succeed even when you fail, that will inspire confidence, perseverance, and a positive outlook. And there are many ways to change that inner self-talk. You can just forcibly shut down your inner critic and push through your limits like Alberto says, or you can try to replace those lines that you say to yourself with the exact opposite. And if you want to reach out to others for help on how to do that, don't be afraid to do so. It worked out for Luca after all. But here's the thing about Alberto and self-talk that we need to be careful about. What do you do when your self-talk is lying to you? Throughout Luca, Alberto is framed as this brimming, invincible, quick-witted kid who can do anything and isn't afraid of anybody. If we compared him to another Disney character, I'd say he's pretty close to Aladdin in terms of personality. He lives alone, knows how to survive on his own, and except with a couple of exceptions, he's perfectly fine keeping it that way. And this is because his inner voice has been feeding him that he can make it on his own, and as a result, he's created a self-fulfilling prophecy. A perfect example of how positive self-talk can lead to success. But his self-talk wasn't all, "You got this, bro, you're the best." One part of Alberto's inner talk was the idea of, "Don't trust the humans, they won't accept you." And this is brought up in the scene I talked about earlier. At this point, Luca and Alberto are at odds in regards to their goals. Luca actually wants to stay on the surface and go to school with Julia, but Alberto wants to stick to the plan, win the race, get the Vespa, and get out of town. This leads to Julia finding out the truth about them, but not in the way that you'd think. I personally expected Alberto to out Luca as a sea monster to prove his point, but no, he actually outs himself. He dips himself into the ocean and emerges as his true form to show Luca that no human would want to coexist with them if they knew the truth. He believed this line of thinking so much that he was willing to throw off his own mission. This leads to Alberto diving away to avoid Ercole and his crew, but Luca later finds Alberto at their old hideout, and it's here that we find Alberto's other two self-talk truths. You don't need anybody because you only mess things up. Sadly, we don't get much insight into what led Alberto to believe the latter, but we do discover the story behind the former. Alberto was abandoned by his father, so though he believes that he can make it by himself, he does so because he believes that he doesn't need anyone as a direct result of being left to fend for himself. And this is another area where we need to be careful with our self-talk. Our self-talk is born from our experiences, and if we don't see our experiences properly, it can lead to dangerous inner dialogue. Even though he was making it big on the outside, Alberto's mindscape was stained by lies and hyper-independence. So how do you undo all that? When it comes to reframing your self-talk, it's very difficult to do alone. You'll notice that with both Luca and Alberto, neither of them were able to do it by themselves. They needed each other to show each other the flaws in their own inner voices. And it's the same way with us. We see life through our own perspective. And if we try to fix ourselves through our own perspective, it won't be long before you start justifying to yourself the reasons why you don't need to change and that you were right all along. I encourage you to reach out to someone you trust and who will be honest and objective with you. It could be a close friend, mentor, anyone who wants to see you be better. And once you find that person, spend the time and do the work to undo that damage. It won't be easy and it will take time, but you can't deny the results when you see them. Luca shows us that we can find acceptance no matter who we are. And the most important kind of acceptance that we need doesn't come from others, but it starts from within. Hey, thanks for watching. And on your way out, don't forget to do the YouTube thing. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't, and be sure to ring that bell so you know when the next video is ready. Until next time.